Today we're going to be looking at the pentatonic scale. This is probably going to be the easiest way you've ever run across learning the pentatonic scale. I mean, it's so easy, all you have to do is learn two shapes of two notes. Before we move on though, let's talk a little bit about the interval structure of the minor pentatonic scale. Minor pentatonic scale consists of a root, a minor third, a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, and a minor seventh. Or that's a starting note, a note that's 3 half steps above the starting note, a note that's 5 half steps above the starting note, a note that's 7 half steps above the starting note, and a note that's 10 half steps above the starting note. If we were to chart this out starting on the low E string on the A note on the 5th fret, we would have the following intervals on the following frets consisting of these notes: A, C, D, E, and G. The cool thing about being familiar with intervals is that this information applies to any key. While our notes that we're dealing with for this particular example, A minor pentatonic, are only A, C, D, E, and G, and if you went to say B minor pentatonic, your notes would change. The interval structure will still be the same. The structure for a minor pentatonic scale will always be root, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and minor seventh, regardless of what note you start on. The chart we're looking at right now is for the A minor pentatonic scale as it appears over the entire fretboard. It's possible to learn this entire chart by learning only two two-note shapes. Here's the first shape. This shape is an interval of a perfect fourth, and in this particular position would consist of the notes A and D. If you're not familiar with intervals already, I can't really stress how important it is that you do so. There's a bunch of free information on interval distances and charts and all sorts of other stuff available at Chops from Hell at the website. For now, though, it's really just important that you know that this interval distance consists of 5 half steps. So at any rate, this is our first shape. And here's our second shape. This shape is an interval of a major third, whereas the perfect fourth was 5 half steps, the major third is 4 half steps. Now this chart doesn't refer to the scale structure of an A minor pentatonic scale, because obviously we're on the third of the scale to the fifth of the scale. I just wanted to point out that the interval distance is a major third. In this case would consist of the notes C and E. And once again, this is our second shape. Believe it or not, that's all you need to know to learn the entire fretboard for a minor pentatonic scale. Now you might be asking yourself, how am I supposed to use these two shapes to learn the entire fretboard for the minor pentatonic scale? Well, let's take a look at the chart again for the interval structure, and let's extend it to C. Now the whole trick to this method of learning the whole fretboard by only using two shapes of two notes is to leapfrog intervals. There's an interval of a perfect fourth between every skip, with the exception of the flat 3 to the 5, which is a major third. From the root to the perfect fourth is obviously a perfect fourth. From the minor third to the perfect fifth is our only major third. Perfect fourth to minor seventh is a perfect fourth. Perfect fifth to the root is a perfect fourth. And finally, the minor seventh to the minor third of the scale is our last perfect fourth. Now if you're a little confused by this, let's just look at the fretboard. We're going to do this on every set of two strings, starting with the low E and the A. The shape from the root of the scale to the perfect fourth is obviously a perfect fourth. Notes A to D. The shape from the flat 3 of the scale to the 5 of the scale is our only major third shape, C and E. The shape from the perfect fourth to the minor seventh of the scale is a perfect fourth again, the notes D and G. The shape from the fifth of the scale to the root is another perfect fourth, E and A. And finally, the shape from the flat 7 to the flat 3 of the scale is another perfect fourth, and the notes G and C. If we were to continue this information up and down the entire fretboard on just the low E and A strings, you could see that all of this is accomplished by only using two shapes, either a perfect fourth or a major third. Here's the same information using the note names. Now let's look at this information on the D and G strings. The shape from the flat 7 to the flat 3 is a perfect fourth, the notes G and C. The shape from the root to the fourth, perfect fourth, A and D. The shape from the flat 3 to the 5 is our major third, the only one, C and E. The shape from the 4 to the flat 7 of the scale, perfect fourth, D and G. Shape from the 5 to the 1 of the scale, another perfect fourth, E and A. So again, let's use this information to cover the entire fretboard for the D and G strings. You can see that we've learned everything by only using two shapes, either the perfect fourth or the major third. Here's the note information. Finally, let's do the same thing for the B and high E strings. The shape from the 5th to the root is a perfect fourth, the notes E and A. The shape from the flat 7 to the flat 3, again a perfect fourth, G and C. The shape from the root to the 4th, again a perfect fourth, A and D. The shape from the flat 3 to the 5 of the scale, our only major third, C and E. And finally, the shape from the perfect fourth of the scale to the flat 7, a perfect fourth, the notes D and G. Let's go ahead and use this information to cover the entire fretboard for the B and high E strings. Once again, you can see only two shapes, the perfect fourth and the major third. And here's the note information. Now, if we'd combine the information that we learned on the low E and A strings, the D and G strings, and the B and high E strings, you'd actually know the entire fretboard for the minor pentatonic scale by only using those two-note shapes, either the perfect fourth or the major third shape. It really doesn't get much easier than that. Now that we've laid things out vertically up and down the strings, let's see how this information works moving horizontally across the strings. Quick thing I want to point out is the use of octaves in these shapes. You'll notice that the octave from the low E to the D string comes from an E chord, and the octave from the D string to the B string comes from a D chord. If that makes sense, great. If not, go back and check out those two chords, you'll see what I mean. Anyway, let's take a look at these shapes in octaves. Here's our shape between the root and the fourth. Our shape between the flat 3 and the 5, this is our major third. Our shape between the 4 and the flat 7, another perfect fourth. Our shape between the 5 and the root of the scale, another perfect fourth. And finally, the shape of a perfect fourth between the flat 7 and the flat 3. So you want to be able to visualize these shapes not only vertically up and down a set of strings, but also horizontally going across the strings. Alright, to conclude things for this installment, we're going to use these two shapes to construct the standard box patterns for the minor pentatonic scale. Now, most of you already probably know these standard box patterns. If you do know them already, looking at it this way might shed new light on things. And if you don't know them already, this will probably be the easiest way you find to learn them. Okay, here we go for box pattern number 1. The shape's perfect fourth, our major third, and the rest are all perfect fourths. The whole box pattern all together, and the note information. Box pattern 2 consists of a third, fourth, fourth, major third, fourth, and fourth. The whole box pattern and the notes. Box pattern 3 consists of a fourth, fourth, third, fourth, fourth, and third. The whole box pattern, the notes. Box pattern 4 consists of a fourth, 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 third, and fourth. the whole box pattern, and the notes. And finally, the fifth box pattern consists entirely of perfect fourth shapes. The complete box pattern and the notes. So once again, combine all this information and you've got the entire fretboard covered. And here's the note information. We've learned the entire fretboard for the minor pentatonic scale by using only 2 shapes of 2 notes. So that's it. Hope you found it useful. Check out the next installment. We're going to use the information we learned here and start breaking out of the box patterns and start taking all sorts of different approaches to the minor pentatonic scale. Later.